Again, for those people watching the broadcast, we're back. COMP1004, Winter 2017, Week 1, Part 2. We're talking about the book, and the book is Murex C# 2015. There's an advantage of buying the book. I think you support the author. I think I think it's good. It's a fairly new book, January 2016. It's not an old book like 2013 or something else, so it's fairly recent. Typically, I don't want you to buy books that are too old. Even if it's C#. C# doesn't change all that much, although there has been a revision over the last 2 years. So I think it's a good book to buy. Computer books in general, I think they're good for the course. Would I recommend them as a reference for life? Definitely not, right? I mean, computers, the computer field, it changes so fast, especially the web. And if I was going to kind of rate what the most difficult area to develop in, it would be the web. I think it's more difficult to develop for the web than any other area, only because, well, maybe that in games, but only because there's so much change going on with the web, whereas C#, Java, they kind of stay fairly stable. So again, a pretty good book to buy. We're going to have Slack. We're going to use Slack, so please, I'm going to send you some invites. You can also go to the Slack channel. The Slack channel is called COMP1004-W2017. So if you actually go to that, so if I was to go to this, I would go to, and it's a URL, right? I would say something like COMP1004-W2017.slack.com, right? If you were to go there, you can actually join if you have a Georgian.ca, sorry, is it Georgian.ca? GeorgianCollege.ca email address. But if you don't, then I have to send you an invite. Also, I recommend that you download the Slack app. It's available for every platform, Windows, Mac, as well as Linux, I believe, and for your phone. And why would you want to get it for your phone? Why would you want to be burdened with something from school on your phone? God forbid. The reason why is because if you did it on your phone, then you could send me direct messages. You could even call me directly if you really wanted to. I've had that happen last semester where the student called me. So how do you kind of sign up for your team? It would be, again, COMP1004, W2017. And then you'd have to know the password that you sign up. You'd have to sign up for Slack for the very beginning, right? So my sign up address, I believe, was at GeorgianCollege.ca. And that's the address you can reach me at as well. And I'm going to type my password, which I know what it is. And it's going to sign me in. So this will add that channel, right? It'll add that channel into Slack itself. And what Slack is, like I said before, is it is a group chat application and a way of sharing files and links and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so that's kind of what Slack looks like from the very get-go. I can also add additional people into Slack by creating more invites, right? So let me invite one other person. I believe the more I invite, why is it doing this today? Explore Slack. That's so funny. Oh, there we go. So if I want to invite, so if I want to kind of go to my directory now, I'm going to see myself and Tiffany, right? Because she's the one that kind of signed up first, right? I can also invite people. Thank you, Tiffany. Let me invite someone else with the mygeorgian.ca website. Anyone want to volunteer? mygeorgian.ca?
I've got a different.
What's yours?
It's
Come. For the time I get it from you, So it's going to be recorded. Just warning you. Your name, okay. Your email is going to be immortalized, right? Go ahead.
Fair enough.
So go ahead. Type your email address. Okay. I know. Send junk mail, right? So it'll be your student number at, and then student. That's the one. Student at. I thought it would be. Okay, cool. See what it says here? It says you can set to allow, right? So now anyone that's student.georgianc.onca, I'd set up.
Perfect.
So now anybody who has that same part can sign up for without me inviting them, right? So that's why I asked you to come up. Anyone else have a different ending, like My Georgian or Georgian, or what's yours?
My Slack code actually always set up.
I can, sure, put up, if you come up, tell me your Gmail account, then I'll do it, right? You're going to be immortalized, realize, right? Because now you're being recorded. All right, so let's
just
invite more people. Go ahead. Just type in your email address there.
A nice keyboard.
It's not mechanical. It's kind of cool. So now it's going to ask me, do you want to add Gmail? And I'm going to say no, because Gmail is everybody. So done. Invite more people. Anyone else have any other endings other than student.georgianc.on.ca? That should cover most of you, actually, right? Georgian College, My Georgian, right? So please sign up for Slack. Is it mandatory that you sign up for Slack? No. But if you want to get a hold of me, it's the best way to get a hold of me. So please sign up for Slack. Again, it's the Slack account is COMP1004-W2017.slack.com. I'm going to be posting announcements on here. I will be replicating those and putting them up on Blackboard as well. But why? If we can all use one tool, it's a fast and quick tool. And also when you're remote, I will be checking it for questions. And I see that I've got this right here. Now, and again, one of the things that if you notice, I've got a bunch of other ones, right? So I can add other ones. The Slack tool allows you to have as many Slack accounts as you like in here, right? So please be, as you kind of come through, you'll see that here's Slackbot, right? This is just for the setup. I can skip the tutorial, and you can see that I've got a couple members coming in here now. This is good, right? You can also look for Slack. Again, as a tutorial, you can also look and see what your directory is like. You can send direct messages, right, through Slack if you're someone who's not familiar. Why is this good? Well, you have a problem, you don't know how to fix it. This is a great tool for you to help students in class. Please don't post your solutions, though. Okay, so if I give you assignment 1, don't post your whole assignment 1 solution in Slack. I'll just remove it, right? At the end of the day, what Slack allows us to do is share stuff, but please don't share all of your code. We can also add other connections to Slack and so on. Things like, as an example, connections to GitHub, which I will be doing, as well as Google Drive and other things. So here's my first one. If you want to get this one, I'm going to share with you my link to YouTube. So here's the first thing I'm sharing with you on Slack. So I'm going to go youtube.com, and then it's my first initial last name. Right, that's the actual link to YouTube. That's my actual channel. And if I kind of copy this whole link, I can kind of paste it right in Slack, and you guys will all get notified when I do this in the general channel, right? So if I go to general channel, and if I kind of post, it's that first post, I press enter, that's the YouTube channel, right? And that'll be for the entire YouTube channel. I also have individual playlists. And again, there's a bunch of playlists for rapid application development. There's a playlist for this one. And I can just take this link, right? And I can also paste this link inside Slack. So there's the playlist. I can say playlist. And that'll be the playlist for Slack and for YouTube. Okay. So please join. I think it's a great tool for us to use and collaborate together. And again, if you want to communicate with me direct, it's the fastest tool. I have 6 email addresses, hundreds of emails that I get from students. It's not a good show. All right, please don't try and email me and expect a response within 24 hours. Send me a Slack message though. Chances are it's gonna be on my phone. When I pick it up, I'm gonna look at it, and most likely I'll respond. Right? If I'm not responding to my phone, just from a norm's perspective, please don't expect me to respond after 10 o'clock. All right? On weekends, Saturday and Sunday, if you get me, you're lucky, right? If it's urgent, though, I will. If you say, please, Tom, it's urgent, can you get back to me? I'll see it on my phone, right? So, I can try, but the norms are, let's try and keep it between, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. That's a 12-hour window throughout the entire week. And then if you give me a Slack message, I most likely will get back. Anytime after that, though, I'm putting the kids down. I might be doing some shopping, whatever, right? If I'm not responding, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I'm probably in class, right? Most of the time, right? So during the day, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I'm most likely teaching something or on the road, right? So I'm not ignoring you. Send me a message, I will get it, and I will most likely respond within a reasonable time frame. Please don't give me a lot of code, right, to look at on Slack. Don't sit there and go, code bomb, I'm going to paste a bunch of code in Slack, and then, can you fix my code, Tom? No, I'm not going to do that, right? I can try and help you. We can arrange a time. And for this reason, I'm going to create another sub-channel, right, which I'm going to call developer. And I'd like you to put all your code help or code, kind of requests inside the developer channel, okay? Random, we can use for random thoughts. If you want to post your puppy pictures and cat pictures and all that kind of stuff, please do it in random, right? General, we're going to be using for announcements, all right? So that's the reason why we're doing that. So please don't put things like, thoughts about, life in general, right? Put it in random, right? And you have access to create your own. If you want to create your own channels with your friends, a group channel you want to kind of leave everybody out of, you can do that. And you can remove yourself from channels that are noisy. Okay, so please understand that. And again, the great thing about this is you can directly access people by sending them direct messages. I think it's a great opportunity. That's Slack. Okay, so we're going to also use, in this course, GitHub. So again, we talked about GitHub. Most of you said you have it. If you are afraid to put up your hand, GitHub, and you don't have GitHub for some reason, it's okay. It won't look like this, though. This is my GitHub, the way it looks, right? It will probably look like, I'm just going to go into an incognito window here. It'll probably look like this when you first sign up, right? So if you haven't signed up for GitHub, please do so. I will be sharing all my code in GitHub. Okay. There is also a GitHub Desktop App, which can solve some problems. So here's my desktop at github.com. If I go there, it'll give you the desktop version for the operating system that you're currently running. Notice it says download GitHub Desktop for OS X or later, 10X and later. If you're running a Windows machine, obviously it would be for Windows. You can also click on the Windows to download the Windows version or the Mac version. There isn't a Linux version, unfortunately.
There's actually one that is for Linux that's now. A whole bunch. I don't know if it's actually called
No, it's not made by GitHub. It's made, you can get it through the Linux software store. And it'll work for GitHub, but it's not made by GitHub. These two are created for GitHub by GitHub. Okay, so that's GitHub Desktop. If you really wanted, there's a desktop app. It's kind of neat. But let's go back into our Visual Studio for a second. So we got this hello world, and I want to add it into GitHub. Now, this is the reason why I wanted you guys to use Visual Studio with Enterprise, right? The one piece that's missing from this, right, is Team Explorer. And if I click on Team, one day when my virtual machine will charge up here. There, here's my Team Explorer. So I'm going to kind of pull this down for a second so you can see it. Here's Team Explorer, right? And if you don't have Team Explorer, again, you can go to View. And if you look at Team Explorer, it's on the top here, right? Team Explorer. And what Team Explorer does allows us to connect and share our files with the chosen source control software you want to use. Now, by default, if I click on Home in Team Explorer, okay, GitHub, and if I click Sync, and if I haven't created a repository, it's going to give me this view. However, this view will only be available for people who've installed Visual Studio 2015 Enterprise with Update 3 and the GitHub extension, right? So where do I get that extension? I go to Tools. All extensions for Visual Studio are through Tools, Extensions, and Updates. Let me share some of the most popular extensions with you that I recommend you download. Notice that these are all the ones that I've installed, right? If you're someone who does web programming, I recommend downloading the Bootstrap Snippet Pack. If you're someone who likes to use Bootstrap. In this course, not required, right? I'm just going to kind of go down to the ones that are required, right? Here's the GitHub extension for Visual Studio. I would say this is required, and it usually gets installed if you install everything in Visual Studio. When you start installing Visual Studio 2015 with Enterprise with Update 3, it'll actually get you to install the GitHub extension by default as a third-party install. If you don't have it, you can always install it here, and the way you find it is you go to Online, and you search for your GitHub extension up here by clicking on or typing in GitHub, right? And then it'll pull up the GitHub extension. Notice that if it's installed, it has a check mark, okay? If you have the GitHub extension, what it does, and I'll add in other ones later on, I'll kind of denote other ones that are really, really important, but let's just start with that one for today. Notice that I have this little area here inside my Team Explorer window that says Publish to GitHub, right? If I click on this link, Publish to GitHub, well, I have to have a couple things set up. One, I need to have my GitHub set up properly, right? And once you click on this the first time, it'll give you a series of questions to do this. Notice it's going into GitHub, and under GitHub I have an area called for my last name, but that's not the one I'm going to use. I'm going to use Georgian College. There's Georgian College, right? And if you notice, it says COMP1004, Winter 2017, Lesson 1, Part 1, because this is the one I did from the first part, right? All I need to do here to set up the repository remotely and link it to my Visual Studio project right here is click Publish. It's a one-stop shop. Publish. And when I do that, if everything went well and my setup is okay and on the back end, it will send everything to GitHub. Let's take a look and see what that's done. So if I go here, and if I go to GitHub, I think I closed it. Let's go to GitHub. And if I look at Georgian College, this is where I'm going to store, and I already have a lot of my files up here already from previous semesters. So if I go COMP1004, Winter 2017, Lesson 1, Part 1, if you couldn't do it, you can go in here and download my project, install it on your machine, and run it. Okay, so this is where I'm going to store everything, and I'm going to try and do it as close to real time as I can. All right. Now I've only done a single commit. And when we do GitHub, if you guys, just a refresher for GitHub for people who have done it before, when Microsoft connects to GitHub and publishes to GitHub for the first time, it creates 2 commits by default. Commits are like snapshots. They take snapshots of the status of your project, right? And they create instances up on GitHub. And GitHub is a cloud service that allows us to do a few things. And there's 3 reasons why we use GitHub, if I was going to mention them again. One is for backup, right? Second one is for file sharing or collaboration, if you will, right? And the third one, right, is for version control. And that's different than backup. Backup is like I put up my stuff, my project on backup. In worst case, if my computer burns, there are my files. But version control is something different. I don't know anybody who hasn't said at one time, oh man, I don't know what I did. It just worked and now it doesn't, right? Well, the great thing about this is every version you put up here, every commit you make on GitHub, it gets stored as a version, a snapshot of your files in that condition, right? You can always step back and you can always look at the changes you made from one version, one commit, to another. So version control is very powerful. So those are the 3 main reasons why we use GitHub. It's used professionally all over the world, right? It's a great way of people connecting you to give you jobs. I've been contacted numerous times over the last 3 years just saying things like, I saw that you have a GitHub account and you have a lot of stuff up there. Are you looking for a job? The answer is no, I'm not. But they've contacted me through GitHub. Same thing with LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, if you want to find a job, I think it's required these days. Make sure it's all clean, and make sure that everything that is not clean, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook is tied down tight, right? So there's no drinking parties. I can pull up if I pull up your name, right? If I see that, that's a bad thing, and most people will Google you, like you're going to Google me afterwards, right? Chances are, who is this guy? And a lot of times it's LinkedIn. So please, this is not only a way of collaborating, but it's also a way of telling the world that I'm a developer and I've got a bunch of code up here that you can look at my code base, right? Now, by default, when you set up an account with GitHub, you get free open repositories. So they're not secure repositories, not private repositories, they're public, right? If you want to open up a private account, there is something called the GitHub Student Pack. So if I go GitHub Student Pack, right, if I was going to look that up, there is this student pack that's available to all students for GitHub, right? And I'm going to put this link in Slack just for you guys, so you guys can see that. So GitHub Student Pack. Right, there it is. And the student pack, what it allows you to do is it gives you private repositories, right, with GitHub. That's one thing it allows you to do. It also gives you some time with DigitalOcean, right, as well as, like it says, unlimited private repositories with GitHub. Hack Hands, if you have a problem with code, they can help you out. $25 in credit for Hack Hands. Microsoft Imagine, if you want to set up something like Microsoft Azure, which we will be doing later on this semester if you don't have it already, as well as one free domain name for a year from Namecheap, if you want to set up your own domain, and an SSL certificate. You can use SendGrid to send secure email, right, as well as other things. Lots of really cool things, and it's free. I highly recommend. Unreal Engine's always free, but you can also download that as well. Any questions around the student developer pack for GitHub? I highly recommend. They give you some free private repositories. And if you're someone who's concerned, like I'm going to share all my files with you on GitHub, one of your requirements in each of your assignments is to share your link to GitHub. I want you to host your files on GitHub, right? Why is that? Because you can put your files up on Blackboard, and I'll have a backup that I can look up on GitHub, as well as I can see your progress when you're creating your application, right? So I can see the work that you're doing in your files. So here's how the marks are laid out for GitHub when it comes to assignments. You get 2 marks for setting up a GitHub a link, right? And using your GitHub as a backup, right? And you get an additional 2 marks every assignment for using GitHub as a version control system, as opposed to it's just a backup, Tom, right? So it means you'll actually lose 2 marks if you don't use GitHub properly. It's not a bonus. This is required every assignment that I give you, right? As well as your exam, right? So your midterm exam and your final exam, you'll be required to use GitHub. It's a way for me to check that it's your work, right? So please make sure you have it. And also, it's a great backup just in case, for whatever reason, the files you put up on Blackboard fail. I can always go up and look at GitHub, and vice versa. If your GitHub repository is empty, I can look at Blackboard and see that your files are there. So I will request from you every time you put up an assignment, your zip files on GitHub, please do not use RAR, okay? If you're using RAR, if you're a RAR person, download 7-zip, okay? Or something else, WinZip. Please do not use RAR. RAR messes me up, okay? Big time, for whatever reason. And your files are all messed up sometimes, unless you use it properly. Most people don't know how to use RAR properly, believe it or not, when they compress things. So please don't use RAR, use zip. So you're going to put a zip archive up on Blackboard, and you're going to have all your files linked to GitHub from your Visual Studio. That's how you should be working, okay? So when we create stuff together, I want you to from the get-go, when you first create your files, start off with your user interface. I'm going to give you your assignments. I'm telling you how to get the 100% here in the course, right? The first thing you do is create your user interface, okay? Please do not wait to try and figure out the logic. Application logic comes second. User interface comes first, right? And then we're going to tie our application logic into our user interface later. Why is this important? In an exam, if I have a user interface that doesn't work, you're still going to get part marks. If I have nothing, you're going to get 0, right? I don't care about your application logic if your application doesn't work, right? So please, that's how we're going to work, and we're going to use GitHub. Questions around GitHub and Slack. I know I've spent a little bit of time. These are our communication tools. This is an intro course, or intro today. I'm talking about norms, right? I'm also going to try and start as much as possible on the hour. So when we come in together at 12, I know it's lunchtime, you can bring your lunch into the class. It's okay, right? It's your machine that you're going to destroy if you want to eat and drink over it, right? So it's totally fine as long as you clean up after yourselves, right? We're going to try and take breaks on the hour. So pretty much every hour, I'll probably take 5 or 10 minutes because it's pretty long for you guys to talk to me and give me attention. And I know for a fact when I watch, a show or something, I can't watch more than an hour. I got to take a break, come back, whatever, and then kind of watch it again. So it's kind of the same with me. I want to kind of give you guys chances for breaks, and it'll be every single hour for about 5 or 10 minutes. On an exam, please do not come late, right? I will not accept people coming late past 15 minutes. So if you're 15 minutes late, after 15 minutes, your exam is missed, right? That's bad. Why? Because you're going to disrupt the crap out of everybody when you walk in. 15, 20 minutes in, I've already explained what the exam's about. Now I got to re-explain everything again to you. No, right? Your job on the exam is only twice you got to do this throughout the entire year. On the midterm, I'm asking you to come in on time, and the final exam. Please do not be late. Be on time within 15 minutes, or else you will not be allowed in at all. When you're in the exam at all, when you're doing tests or exams for me, right, you can go, it's usually most often they're open book, right? And you're like, all right, cool, Tom, open book. Open book is bad. Open book means you need to know what you're doing, right? Because that means I've leveled the exam so that way you're going to have to need everything, all your resources to pass, all right? It's not, yay, I don't have to remember anything. It's, oh God, I need to know everything, where everything is, because it doesn't matter how much time you have on Google. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to help you, all right? So it's good and bad. The good part is you have access to everything. The bad part is you need to know what you're doing, okay? I try not to do multiple choice true false because in this kind of stuff, because we're developers here in this course, and multiple choice true false, unless I'm talking about high level concepts, which you should already have by now, barring everybody having issues, some people having issues with object-oriented programming, which people are going to tell me about later on. You should know the basics. So I'm not going to test you mostly on concepts. I'll be testing you on, can you build an app? I'm going to get you to build something in the exam. You'll have the full 3 hours, and I'm going to ask you to do something. And I'm going to try and make it so it probably takes about an hour and a half to build everything, right? But you'll have 3 hours. That means some people on the exam will be able to finish within an hour and a half or less, and some people will take the entire 3 hours because they're not so comfortable with the tools, or they haven't practiced enough, or they got 5 or 6 other courses that they're doing at the same time, and they're not as comfortable with this stuff as others. Any questions around exams? Assignments. We're sitting on a Monday. When I give you an assignment, it's going to be due, right? Not on the Monday, right? It'll probably be due the day before, right? That means every Sunday in this course, in this semester, every semester is a little different. Sometimes I'll make it, if our course is running on a Friday, your assignment will be due on a Thursday. Why not the Friday? The reason why is because if it's due on the same day that we're having class, you're not going to come to class. You're going to work on your assignment at home, those kind of things. Typically, if I give an assignment, unless I say something like this, I'm giving you assignment time to do your assignment, like, for example, next week. I'm going to give you a slot of time next week to start your assignment number 1, right? And I'll give you assignment time week 3 to do the last part of your assignment number 1, right? But week 4, it'll be due. So by week 4, assignment number 1 will be due on the Sunday, right? Because I've given you 2 weeks to do it, right? Like actual in-class time. So you get lots of time to get your assignment done and polished up. So please don't ask me for extensions unless there's an kind of extenuating circumstance. You're sick, all the regular norms. I know you've heard this from every class, but I got to kind of repeat it, right? Every single time. Also, this is an individual. All your assignments will be individual. You're not going to be sharing stuff with groups. There's not a group assignment at any time, right? And that means all your code must be your own, okay? Unless I say something like, you can use my code. I might say something like that, right? And if I say something like that, or if it's on the assignment, it says you can use my code, it's perfectly fine. Please do not copy from one another, right? That would be bad. That would be bad, right? That would be like, most likely you're going to get a 0 and so is your partner, right? Because there is no you doing it with somebody else here. You can certainly look at somebody else's solution to get an idea of what to do, but each person's assignment has got to be their own, okay? Any questions around that? I know it doesn't, this is kind of quote unquote common sense, but I got to say it because sometimes people don't understand that in this class, every assignment is individual, as well as your exams. I also got to say that my Google foo is really strong, right? I'm a fighter on Google Food. I will find out if you've copied from somebody else 9 times out of 10. I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm just telling you. And then you're just going to get 0, right? So please don't do that, right? All right. That's it for norms. I don't want to talk about that stuff ever again, all right? We got to talk about it at least one time. All right, so Slack, again, just a recap. I'm using Slack as a communication tool. We're using GitHub as a way of sharing our code, right? And we're using Visual Studio as our main IDE to build our applications. Those are the things we're gonna do. Yes.
Like my ID is different for Georgian College. It's like mygeorgian.ca.
mygeorgian.ca, same as yours, right? Okay, so on the break, which I'm going to take in about 5 minutes, I want you to come up and I'll set it up so that anyone else can join as well. Yes.
If you just use this as another one, that you your student number, add student, whatever, you can still log in.
That's true too. So if you use the student number,
I don't get that.
okay, so you're an international student. He may not have it. Okay, so every student has it. Okay. It doesn't matter. On the break, you come up, I'll send you an invite. And if anyone else has a problem, come up on the break and I'll send you an invite, okay? I'm also gonna put the invite up for later on up on Blackboard. So you can kind of go up on Blackboard and then click on those links. The same links I'm kind of sharing with you right now, they're gonna be up on Blackboard later on. Okay, so we've done our little hello world. Before we depart and take a short break, let us make another one. All right, so we've done our hello world with it. This is actually what we've got here is a Windows Forms app. I want to make a console app just to show you that it can be done, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to go File, Close Solution. And now, once we've done that, we're going to open up a new solution, right? When my Visual or VMware responds here, I'm going to go File, New, Project. And if you notice here, we've got our Windows. I can choose console application. So we're going to do this other one where I'm going to say COMP1004 Winter 2017, and then it's lesson 1, part 2. Right? That's what we're doing right now. Notice I've clicked on GitHub. You should make this your default, like I said before, and I'm press OK. Okay, this is something that's a little different than last time. Why? If you look at my solution, right? I only have my program.cs. There is no Windows Forms part, and I'm not going to make one for this one. I'm going to share it up on GitHub again. So I'm going to go to Team. I'm going to go to Sync. And it's going to ask me to publish to GitHub, which I'm going to click on Publish to GitHub. Now notice that's going to try and default to my regular account, which is my last name. But I'm going to take it to Georgian College, right? And it's going to say COMP1004, Winter 2017, so on and so on. And instead of part 2, like it's supposed to say, it says part 1. That's bad. It should say part 2. All right, so I got to change the name to make sure it's right. Hopefully it'll publish to part 2 and click publish. And I like having problems because we can resolve the problems together. Okay, let's check to see if it worked. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to Georgian College. And once you see part 2, there it is. Part 2. Notice part 2 is considerably more lightweight, right? And that's wrong. What's wrong here? What do you see wrong in part 2? Part 1. How come it did that? By the way, Visual Studio messes up like this all the time, right? Just FYI, right? So it's a really good thing to know your console commands with Git. Who's ever done console with Git? Anybody? No? Is that a no for most people? Okay, I'm going to talk about the commands and how to fix it. And this is why I did this, right? Because I know it messes up sometimes. First, how do I fix a repository that's broken like this? This is the wrong repository. It's showing part 1, right? With my part 1 form 1 and so on, right? Where it's supposed to show part 2, right? Well, the way to fix it is, of course, to go to the repository, click on Settings, and inside your repository, skip down all the way down here to click Delete this repository. It's going to ask you to confirm by putting in the repository name, and then click I understand the consequences and send it to the bit bucket, no pun intended, to the sky, right? It's gone. There is no more repository, which means there is no link here. Even though it shows me there's a link to the repository, it doesn't exist. So what do I do? How do I fix this? Well, the great thing is my solution has two parts, the solution itself and the project, right? What I want to do is if I right click, whether it's on the solution or on the project, I can open my file, my folder in my file explorer, all right? This is an important step, right? I could open a command line as well, but let's do it in File Explorer first. So if I go to File Explorer, you can see that I have a .git folder, right? .git is the hidden folder that exists that holds a reference to all your commits for GitHub. Now this is not the last time I'm going to do this with you guys, guaranteed, right? So please watch this time. You may not need to do this right now, but this is how it works. I can remove it. So if I wanted to kind of click on .git and click delete, it's gone. That means there is no Git repository for part 2 right now. It's gone. There is no reference to it. It's not a Git repository anymore. What's the difference between doing that and right-clicking and going to command line? Opening command line allows you to do a couple things. One, PowerShell, which I highly recommend, right? If you just click regular command line, for most people, they will not have access to Git in Windows. You'd have to install it manually and make it work, right? So if you click PowerShell, what it does, it should allow you to do something like this. If I click on Git, it allows me to access to the Git command. Otherwise, it will not. Okay. Now, if I want to create a Git repository for this one, if I do a directory, right, this is my, kind of list my link. I want this view. I want this to be sent up to GitHub, right? So the first thing I need to do, this is command line version of Git. How do I set up Git? I need to do a git init. That's the first command. Git init initializes the Git repository, and it creates that hidden .git folder. That's what it does. By the way, do you need to remember this for an exam or something like that? Hell no. I'm telling you this because just in case you have a problem, it's recorded for you guys so you can fix your problem. Okay? Next, I want to click on Git Add dot. What Git Add does is it adds all the files that you have currently in the project and everything underneath, in all the folders underneath this particular folder, right? It adds it to something called the staging area. The staging area is an area that before you actually make a commit, it kind of marks all the files that are going to be kind of put to the repository. All right, it's kind of a pre-step, if you will, right? Git add dot. That adds everything on. Dot means everything. Next. No. The next one is git commit. We did a commit last time automatically. Commit is like a snapshot. We need to name our snapshot with a -m for message. What's the message for the snapshot? Initial commit. Right? Or first commit. Those are the two standards, right? What this does is it creates a snapshot based on all the files I've added into the staging area. Okay, right now, we've got a local repository that we can run with, but we don't have a remote link, right? Our remote link doesn't exist. We have to get that link. And where do I get that link? From GitHub. So I want to create a repository the other way around. So here I am in GitHub. And what I want to do is I want to go to Georgian College. Yes, I stole that particular one. Yes, you cannot get the Georgian College organization anymore. And what I want to do here is, and again, I have to sign in to do this. Let's see if it remembers me. Probably won't. What I want to do here is, yes, I'll update the password. I want to create a new repository here manually, and I want to call it what it's supposed to be called. For example, COMP1004, Winter 2017, Lesson 1, Part 2. That's the proper way of the name of the repository. Press Enter. Notice I made it public automatically. Now, here's the great thing about GitHub. It gives you instructions on what to do. This is all the stuff I kind of did, right? Except instead of git add a README file, I put git add dot. I made my commit, instead of first commit, I made it initial commit. And now all I want to do is I'm going to take these last two lines, I'm going to copy them, I'm going to go back to my PowerShell, and I'm going to paste them in and press enter. And if everything goes well, it's going to populate my repository with all the files from my main branch. Okay, how can I prove that this is fixing everything in Visual Studio? This is on command line, right? What is it doing in Visual Studio? Let's take a look. Right. Well, I've got my program, and one of the first things I want you to learn in C# is how do I do comments, right? This is my driver class. This is what this thing is, my first class. And for those people who don't know object-oriented programming, think about a class as a structure, right? A container that I can duplicate, if you will. Almost like a blueprint, right? A code blueprint that I can duplicate over and over again by creating objects, right? Each individual object of this quote-unquote blueprint has its own life. It has its own properties. It has, and we'll talk about what classes are more for people who don't remember what it is as a review. But let's suppose I want to put a little code header. I could use a / in C#, which gives me a little summary that I can put in. So this will be the driver class for our little console application. That's what this is. So I've made a change. If I click Save, notice that on the right in Solution Explorer, there's a little check mark. Check mark means this file in its red has been changed. Okay, it's kind of earmarking the fact that this file has been changed. Well, how do I prove to you that this is the same thing that's happening here? If I kind of clear the screen and do a directory, I go into COMP1004, the part 2 one, right? And I kind of do another directory. I can see that I have my program.cs, right? My last update, my last write time was 2:10, which just happened, right? So you can see that this happened right now. Now, if I go git log, I can see that my last update was my initial commit, right? Okay. There's a reason for my madness here. Now, I want to go to team again in Visual Studio, and I want to click on changes. And notice it says my program.cs has changed. The other thing to note is down here, which is really important in Visual Studio 2015 with update 3. You can see that right here, it tells me the branch that I'm currently working in. The branch is the GitHub branch that I'm sharing, or the Git branch I'm sharing on GitHub, which shows lesson 1, part 2. If it doesn't show that, it shows something else, there's a problem. Also, notice that my branch is master. Okay, we'll talk about branching later on, but in general, the master branch is the branch we're going to be using through the entire semester. I'm not going to be talking about branching and all this other stuff involved with GitHub because it's a little bit more advanced, and it's going to kind of throw us off kilter a little bit. Okay, so cool. So we've got our branch. I want to make a commit, and in Visual Studio, to make a commit, because I've got one change. First of all, I have to have a change in order for me to make a commit. I can't do a snapshot of something I haven't changed. Okay, that's number one. It's almost like trying to save something that's already been saved. Doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to say updated. This is the way we do snapshots or commits. Usually some kind of control word, like an action word. What did I do? I updated. I added. I removed. Something that you did. What did you do in GitHub, right? Or on your local Git repository. I updated comments, or added a comment. Added comment to class header. That's what I did. And I'm going to say commit all. And now I have a local commit, right? Because I've added a new commit message. Now if I go back to my PowerShell, and I'm just going to kind of clear the screen again. And if I go git log, now I have this. Extract, see? Added comment to class headers, exactly what I put in Visual Studio, which means we're on track, right? If there was something different there, or if that was missing, then I'd be like, scratch. I don't know what happened. How come it's not going there? It's going there, which means most likely it's going to be fine. Now, if I click on home and if I click on sync, you can see that I can push my changes to GitHub. And in Visual Studio, this is where I would do that. When I push my changes, so right now I have my commits changed locally. It's only my local hard drive that I've made my changes. But nothing's happened on GitHub right now. GitHub doesn't know. It's not linked up to your local hard drive, right? So the way to do that is to push. Once I push, it's going to send my local commit or my up to GitHub. And if I check GitHub now and refresh, I should see two commits, right? The first one, which is my initial commit, and then my added comment to class header. That second commit. And that's how we work within Visual Studio, right? And that's how you fix a problem, my friends. if somehow Visual Studio messes up, which, by the way, it will, right? Look forward to it and try and fix it. Go back to this video, which is part 2 of the first week to fix it, because this is where I'm going to have the fix. Questions around GitHub and Visual Studio and command line and all that kind of stuff. For the most part, most people, if you're just starting off as a developer, hate command line. They're like, command line, ick. I want my UI. Because why? We're all addicted to UI, eh? We need to have, it's like the big thing that's in our veins right now. We need to have a UI or else we don't like it, right? Guys and girls, if you're going to be a developer, you need to become really friendly with command line, right? Especially when we do some more advanced stuff. For example, if we work with the web, right? So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Learn about it. And there's lots of tutorials online on how to do Git with command line as opposed to Git with Visual Studio. You can do both. And you can also use the desktop app as opposed to doing any of this stuff. You don't even have to even do GitHub with Visual Studio. And here's something that I want to tell you. When you do your assignments or your exams, I don't care how I get it. I don't care whether you do the command line version, the Visual Studio version, the desktop version, as long as I get a link that's viable on GitHub and your stuff up on Blackboard, it doesn't matter to me, right? That's up to you. I'm just showing you methods of what kind of techniques that you can use to make this all work. Okay, I talked enough. Let's take a 5-minute break. Let's take a bio break. And when we come back, we'll actually make this console application do something.